Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into the nuts and bolts of funding and scaling a company. Whether you're literally just sketching out a business plan on a napkin, or you're running a mid-size operation that's ready to go global, understanding exactly how to fuel that vision is your absolute first step.
So how do businesses actually get their money? We all know this scenario, right? Your blueprint is perfect, the product market fit is locked in, but the bank account is looking a little empty. How do operations, from lean little bootstrap startups all the way up to massive legacy multinationals, actually secure the cash they need to execute their roadmaps? Because honestly, no matter your scale, capital is the great equalizer.
Okay, let's establish our foundation and figure out what business financing actually is.
At its core, it's just the capital required to actually do things. We're talking about the cash you need to acquire assets, manage your payroll, build up that initial inventory, and push your marketing campaigns out into the world. Without this consistent injection of funds, well, even the most groundbreaking business models are going to struggle against the friction of the real world.
I like to think of a business as a high-performance engine, making financing the fuel. It really doesn't matter how flawless your internal engineering is, because if the tank is empty, the engine stalls. The best mechanics in the world are kind of irrelevant without the energy to actually drive them forward.
And that fuel, it burns in a lot of different directions. You need it to launch, obviously, but you're continually burning it to manage day-to-day operations. It goes toward physical expansion, buying machinery, equipment, hiring top-tier talent, and expanding into new markets. But crucially, it acts as a buffer. You know, when a sudden downturn or a supply chain shock hits, you need a robust financial reserve to weather the storm without completely shutting down.
So that brings us to the great divide, debt versus equity.
First up is debt financing. This one is pretty straightforward. You're borrowing money today with a strict, ironclad promise to pay it back later, plus interest. This uses traditional instruments, things like commercial bank loans, lines of credit, or corporate bonds. Basically, you get the cash up front and the lender gets a guaranteed return over time.
Now this path comes with a really stark strategic trade-off. On the upside, you get to keep absolute 100% control over your business. Plus, your interest payments are highly predictable, which is great for tight budgeting. But the downside? It's rigid. Listen, lenders do not care if you had a bad quarter. Repayments are mandatory. Interest eats directly into your profit margins, and if cash flow dips, excessive debt can quickly become fatal.
Alternatively, we have equity financing. If debt is borrowing money from a bank, equity is, well, it's like giving someone a seat in your car in exchange for gas money. You're raising funds by actually selling ownership shares of your business. This is where players like venture capital firms, angel investors, or even the general public through crowdfunding enter the picture.
And the dynamic here completely flips. The day-to-day financial pressure practically vanishes, mostly because there are zero mandatory repayment obligations. Plus, these investors often bring some seriously crucial industry connections and experience to the table. But the friction hits at a deep structural level. You're diluting your ownership, you have to share your future profits, and you inevitably surrender a chunk of your decision-making power.
Let's look at the treasure map. Where are the internal versus external sources of all this cash?
Where do you actually go to find this capital? You generally have two main hunting grounds. Looking inward helps you avoid heavy loans and giving up equity. This means reinvesting your retained earnings, selling off unused assets, tapping into personal savings, or aggressively cutting unnecessary expenses. But when you need to scale rapidly, you've got to look outward. That means hitting up commercial banks, financial institutions, venture capital firms, or tracking down targeted government grants.
Ultimately, it all comes down to the decision, choosing the right path.
Making this choice requires a rigorous, totally objective evaluation. Step 1, strictly map out the exact capital you require against its true long-term cost. Step 2, stress test your repayment capability. And I mean really stress test it. Don't just rely on rosy, best-case scenarios. Finally, Step 3, look at the horizon and figure out exactly how much autonomy and future upside you're actually willing to trade away to reach your next milestone.
Proper financial planning is absolutely crucial here. Because at the end of the day, business financing isn't just a bunch of paperwork. It's the lifeblood of your enterprise. Making wise funding decisions significantly influences whether your business thrives and scales into a massive success or literally stalls out on the side of the road before ever reaching its true potential.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want you to think about your own roadmap. Which financing path is going to fuel your next big idea? Are you going to take on the strict pressure of debt to keep absolute rule over your kingdom? Or will you share the crown to lighten the load?
The engine is built. Now the choice of fuel is entirely up to you.